The National Aeronautics and Space Administration was founded in 1958, and ever since then it's gone on to make some groundbreaking discoveries. NASA was established to research and develop vehicles and activities for the exploration of space, within and outside of Earth's atmosphere. NASA conducts programs that focus in part on space operations. The US government has the authority to provide technical assistance to the agency or the government in all its operations. However, if NASA's operations and functions are not the subject of substantial statutory oversight by Congress, it may act to prevent or delay actual or constructive activities of the federal government, or by the administrator of the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. Various people have been lucky enough to work for this impressive company, some of which have been there during some of history's most incredible discoveries. These finds have put NASA at the forefront when it comes to space exploration, and they have captivated the minds of millions of people from across the world. Although these stories are incredibly impressive, sometimes it's the more mysterious ones that capture people's attention. This is usually because not much information is released, and the general public is left wanting more. One such individual who worked for NASA joined Reddit a few years back, and did an Ask Me Anything. It was submitted to the subreddit 5 years ago and said the following: I am a retired NASA engineer. I worked for NASA in its infancy beginning in 1954 up until the shuttle program. Ask me anything. My short bio: I was an RCA engineer contracted to work for NASA from 1954 until 1988. I worked in the Range Safety Division for NASA before the Mercury program even began. I was able to witness firsthand the race to space, landing our men on the moon and more. I rubbed shoulders with Von Braun. I've shaken hands with John Glenn, Alan Shepard and more. My grandson is helping me answer questions. End quote. The questions at first were basic. One user asked what was a normal working day like, to which he responded the following: working day with no launch. My job was to ensure equipment was in good shape for the next launch. Very procedural. Working day with launch. Filled with checks and tests done on a very rigid schedule. Everything had to be done at an exact time with certain checking being done and done successfully. They had to be done at the exact right time to fit in with the launch itself. There were times we couldn't test for things if the bird wasn't in configuration for it, so we had very narrow windows to test for things. Otherwise we'd set off bells and sirens across the area. End quote. The next question that was asked was how was people after a failed mission? Was there a lingering sadness or were people ready to go, determined to have the next one be successful? To which he replied, when there was a loss of life there was a deep sadness by mostly everyone that I knew. The reaction was always, what do we do to prevent this from happening again? There was so much testing from everyone to make sure a mistake never happened again. So much investigation and testing. End quote. The conversation then moved onto unidentified flying objects, where someone asked where did they hide the UFOs. He said the following: I did work on the B-29 in Roswell in the Air Force. There was one hangar they said not to go near. End quote. As you can imagine, this then caused people to start talking about the subject, saying that although they didn't release much information, it backs up what other workers have said and that there's certain places that are off limits. People in the comment section then went on to talk about Hangar 18, which is widely known by UFO enthusiasts as the location that the government hides the physical evidence of extraterrestrial contact, whether it be the remains of spacecraft debris, extraterrestrial equipment and allegedly even the bodies of aliens. Allegedly there's a highly guarded top-level clearance inside of the warehouse codenamed the Blue Room. Due to various sources, this location is home to classified information, and this comes from those that have worked there. It's widely believed that this Blue Room is the location where the United States government houses captured alien life and conducts experiments on them that often leads to termination. The notoriety of Hangar 18 goes back to the infamous Roswell event. This was where there was a recorded press release issued by the Roswell Army Airfield, stating that the personnel inspected the crash of a flying disc, and that they sent it to headquarters for research. Shortly after, there was another press release from the Air Force Base in Fort Worth, Texas, claiming to be the headquarters that the remains were sent to, not Wright-Patterson, and that the remains were only that of a weather balloon. However, throughout the years, the government's repeated use of the excuse of weather balloons and swamp gas became so cliché that much later in 1994 the Air Force would go on to state this was untrue, and that it was in reality testing a surveillance device that was designed to fly over nuclear research sites in the Soviet Union, which was equally backed by a complete lack of evidence. On multiple occasions, the Air Force has denied the rumours and stated there was never a building called Hangar 18. However, satellite imaging has shown that to be only semi-true, as there clearly is a structure named Building 18. However, many refuse to believe the misdirection away from Wright-Patterson, as it has been officially documented as the home of Project Sign, an initiative that was signed into action in July of 1947 and dedicated to studying reported UFO sightings. The project was converted into Project Grunge in 1949, and then into Project Blue Book in March of 1952, which led to the Blue Room theory. It was officially stated that Project Blue Book was only designed to study crashed Soviet aircrafts. However, Senator Barry Goldwater was recorded asking General Curtis LeMay for access into the base, with which LeMay was quoted saying the following: "Not only can't you get into it, but don't you ever mention it to me again." A very suspicious response to a request to see a bunch of shot down Soviet aircrafts. Tom DeLong is on a mission to prove the existence of mysterious flying crafts. This topic has been featured heavily in the news recently, with people like Elon Musk giving their opinions on the subject. One thing that's come to light is that officials are heavily investigating this topic, having various different videos showing these mysterious objects defying the laws of aviation, with even former presidents coming forward and saying that some of these sightings and encounters can't be explained. Interestingly, a few months back Tom posted an interesting photograph and caption on his Instagram, but it soon got removed not long after being up. The photograph and message was saved by online users, but some couldn't understand why the post had been taken down, while others said that Tom may have been forced to take the post down. It said the following: "In the early 50s, a man was claiming to have regular visits from spacemen that were the same entities that UFO contactees described meeting, as well as the same ones he said were portrayed in the Bible as angels. He said they put outposts in the solar system and had connections to Atlantis and Lemuria. He took many photos in the early 50s, no Photoshop or computers, but many were overexposed potentially because of the propulsion field coming from the craft. A man in 2017 wanted to make a 3D animation of the craft, and asked to borrow all of the photos and negatives from the 50s to help create the animation. Upon digital enhancement, within a black negative this figure and craft appeared. This may be what the people describe as the tall whites or the Atlanteans, or the angels of the Bible. They glow, they can almost look translucent, and it's as if they're surrounded by an electromagnetic force field, but really they may be walking around on Earth, just like men as the Bible texts describe." End quote. The post immediately created a discussion online, with some users saying that the photographs don't show anything of interest, and that it's likely nothing, while others came forward and said that they've encountered similar looking beings. According to local legends and stories, Shasta Mountain is very spiritual, and is said to be placed on top of the lost continent of Lemuria. Since the early 1880s, locals close to the region have reported seeing mysterious flying crafts close to the mountain, along with strange people who would walk up to the mountain and then vanish. Others said that these individuals actually live inside the mountain, and that inside is a lost advanced society. Amateur researchers who have looked into the topic of UFOs have said these crafts are particularly interested in volcanoes, and that every year photographs are taken of them entering these systems. The story of Lemuria is a long one, but according to those that have looked into its history, the Lemurians are said to be an ancient advanced society who eventually relocated underground, and since then this is where they've stayed. As mentioned earlier, most who have looked into this have said that they currently reside underneath or inside Mount Shasta. The Lemurians are thought to be peaceful, kind, hyper-intelligent and all-forgiving. All beings that lived in Lemuria worked together in harmony, were all equal and all respected Mother Earth. Many ancient writings throughout the world talk about a great flood that took out many different civilizations, and people who have looked into advanced civilizations have said that either they were taken out as well, or they were forced to live underground, and have since stayed there. Others have suggested that the Lemurians actually disguised themselves and started living alongside other humans, saying that most agree that their general appearance is that of a tall human, with blonde hair and blue eyes. Doing a reverse search on the image that Tom posted doesn't bring up anything, causing some to say that this photograph could be the real deal. The overall appearance and characteristics of this alleged species remind some of the tall whites or the Nordics. According to MUFON, the second most commonly reported alien is nearly completely identical to human beings, and this is in almost every other way except for a few key differences. Referred to by MUFON as the Nordic alien species, the Nordic aliens are reportedly aliens that have long blonde hair, so blonde that is commonly mistaken as being white, pale skin, deep blue eyes, and typically males stand between 6 and 7 feet tall. Many who have claimed to have encountered the Nordic aliens, or have been abducted by the species, claims that the Nordic aliens possess advanced telepathic abilities, able to communicate entire concepts and emotions with their abductees, and instill them with a tremendous amount of new information. Although many claim that the species is kind in nature, with some saying that the Nordic aliens are preparing to save the human race via abduction in the event of a world-ending catastrophe, there appears to be a number of apocalyptic and doomsday cults that worship the Nordic aliens in sinister ways. However, those that have been taken by these entities have said the feeling of being in their presence was something that they'll never forget. Scientists and researchers though don't buy into this idea, saying that these are just stories, and those saying that they've been taken into ships are most likely dreaming, reporting that sleep paralysis can make you think that things are happening around you when they aren't. Scientists have also said that they've never found an advanced civilization living beneath Mount Shasta. Researchers have said that the government could be gearing up to tell us something, noting that things like Space Force could have been created in order to communicate with advanced species outside of our solar system. Former employees who worked for the government have also detailed that they're hiding information from the general public, and that they have decades-old documents that aren't being shared, saying that they show proof of mysterious flying crafts that are much more advanced than what we have. Believers though have said that people who don't believe in UFOs are closed-minded, and regardless of what they might think, we have evidence of advanced crafts flying into mountains and volcanoes. With a new batch of photographs being sent back to Earth via NASA's new Perseverance rover, amateur researchers have been combing through them, and some have said they've found some interesting anomalies. There's some that believe that Mars was once a planet that hosted life, although NASA and other space agencies have said this isn't true and that they've never found evidence to back up these claims. Amateur researchers have said they've discovered artifacts on the Red Planet, and they look similar to things like crafts and buildings. It's these finds that have led some to spending countless hours in the hopes of finding something, and someone has claimed they found something interesting in one of the photographs sent back by the new Perseverance rover. This person said that in the background of this image you can see what looks like a silver disc, noting that whatever this thing is, it stands out against the backdrop of Mars. This image was sent to me by a man called Mark, and he said it had just been posted to various UFO groups. Amateur researchers use these groups as a way of quickly sharing these kinds of photos, and those who saw it said it does look like an unidentified flying object. And before I carry on, as mentioned before, it's important to note that NASA have said they've never found a UFO on Mars, and that these images can be explained using camera anomalies or pareidolia, but that hasn't stopped people from looking through these types of photographs in the hopes of finding something. Those that have seen this image agreed with the poster in that it looks like there's definitely something there, saying that if it's a UFO, how did it get there? One person said the following on one of the groups: "I'm not the person who found this image, but I've seen similar looking ones in the past. There's no denying that this object looks like a disc, and you can even see it reflecting the light. While using the Mars app, I've also found some strange anomalies. I agree that some of these are pareidolia, but there's some that look too real for them to be rocks. In my opinion, I don't know how this shiny disc could be a rock. I'd be interested to know if the Perseverance rover has the ability to travel over there and investigate what this thing is." End quote. Well, this person said the following: "These missions cost us billions and billions of dollars, and this blurry image is the best thing we're able to capture. Why does it seem that rovers have the worst cameras attached to them? They also seem to blur out certain areas on Mars that they don't want people to see. Why can't we get a decent photograph of Mars? Why do they always have that horrible orange-red filter over them?" One of the funny things about this is that NASA have even admitted on their website that they place a filter on the photographs that make them look red. The thing is, when you edit these photographs back to neutral, there's so many more anomalies that you're able to pick up on. It makes you wonder if that's the reason they do it." End quote. Other UFO researchers said that seeing unidentified flying objects above Mars isn't anything new, and various photographs have been presented in the past which show different shaped objects hovering above the rovers. Some of the most commonly shaped objects seen are the triangle Sagaran disk. Interestingly, some NASA officials have said it's good when these types of photographs are presented, as it gives them the opportunity to educate people about what they're actually seeing. Joy Crisp, who was the Curiosity's deputy project scientist of NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, said that when this happens it gets people talking and looking at Mars images, and this in turn generates more interest in projects happening on the Red Planet. It's not just unidentified flying objects that people have seen on Mars. There's also some that believe Mars is actually home to living creatures, and one of these comes in the form of a creature that looks like a large snake. This photograph shows what theorists state is a snake between some rocks. As with most of these images, when it was shared it quickly went viral, with those who saw it wanting answers for what it was. NASA was quick to speak out about this one, and said that what people were seeing is nothing special. They used pareidolia as an answer for what people were seeing, and said that eroded rocks can take on the form of things like animals. Interestingly enough, NASA scientists have said there's over 100 billion planets in the Milky Way galaxy alone. There's hundreds of millions of galaxies, all teeming with millions or billions of planets. This makes the likelihood of there being life in our universe very high. This is why NASA and other space agencies are now making it their goal to visit various systems, and this is in the hopes of finding life. It's likely it will happen. The question is when and how long will it take? For all we know, there could be life only a couple of million miles away, whereas it might be hundreds of billions of miles away, and when you're talking about space, billions of miles is a very small distance. Although definitive signs of life have yet to be observed on the Red Planet, the odds of this observation seem to be more and more promising with the passing years, as Curiosity uncovers additional complex organic molecules, and continues its drilling processes to locate biosignatures of life. This has led many researchers to theorize that the formation of these bacteria could have taken place over millions of years, as well as the fact that they could have at one point in time existed far more complex life on the surface of Mars, before the complete removal of its atmosphere, leading to a number of extremophiles still existing on the Martian surface today. So what do you make of this recent photograph that was captured by NASA's new Perseverance rover? Do you think it shows an object in the shape of a disk, or do you think it's just a rock or a camera anomaly? Also, do you think we have ever captured anything on the Martian surface that could suggest there was once life there? Be sure to leave your questions and answers in the comment section below, and help us to grow this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.